Sure.
Well, guess what? So does his brother, who happens to be Ryan's dad, and so does his mom. His mom's about this big, his dad's about this big. And then there's Ryan. Is the blending hypothesis supported there? No. Okay?
That's like an adding.
Who knows? Yeah. Well, here's another example, right? What? Too many examples like this. So people that sat around and thought about how to explain inheritance really weren't satisfied with the blending hypothesis. One of these people was Mendel. Okay? So, what is actually going on there? Well, first, make sure we get our key terms down here. When we speak of heredity, when we speak of inheritance, all we're talking about is how Rebone acquired his traits, or how Rebone is going to pass his traits on. That's inheritance. His inheritance is all the traits that he has and how he passes them on, or how he receives them. Okay? That's inheritance. That's called heredity. Now, other word here that I'll throw around a lot is progeny. Progeny just means offspring. We're all progeny of our parents. Someday maybe we'll have progeny of our own, or your own. Hopefully not too soon. The study of heredity is genetics. Just like the study of cancer is oncology, just like the study of life is biology, the study of heredity is called genetics. The father of genetics is Mendel. All right? And it springs from a simple little pea plant. Studying pea plants for 7 or 8 or 9 years, he came up with the 2 or 3 main principles that we can now explain 95% of our heredity. All right? His hypothesis was called the particulate hypothesis. Not the blending hypothesis, but the particulate hypothesis. Now let's take a look at this word right here, particulate. What's the root word? Particle. Behind this column there. Particle. What's a particle? Hold it. Yeah, it's a part of something. It's a piece of something. Right? If I drop a glass, it breaks into little particles of glass. If I smash a walnut, it breaks into particles. Right? If I rip up a piece of paper, the pieces of paper can be called particles. Okay? Particles. Mendel called his hypothesis the particle theory, or the particulate theory. All right? And it's a really interesting idea. He thought that our heredity depends on particles that we somehow pass on to our offspring. The reason why purple flowers are purple is because they receive some sort of particle that caused them to be purple. Okay? Kind of like marbles being passed on. All right? And here's the really freaky thing. Rebone's got some trait, some particle. Where do you get that particle from? Anybody? Where do you get that particle from? His mom or his dad. Let's say he got it from his dad. Where did his dad get that particle from? His mom or his dad. So think about that for a second. The particles that Rebone has were at one time in people that lived 2,000 years ago, weren't they? The particles that Rebone has, he's going to pass on maybe someday if he finds somebody crazy enough to marry him, right? And if we come back in 1,000 years, there might be people running around that have the very same particle in him that Rebone has. Well, isn't that a little freaky? Now, of course, nowadays, nowadays we know what these particles are. They're DNA. It's DNA, right? But back in the day, people had no idea about DNA, and so this idea freaked people out. Mendel would explain it to somebody, and more often than not, the guy would go, "No way." And then Mendel would go, "Way." And the guy would go, "No way." Okay? So, the idea that traits are controlled by particles that somehow get passed on was too mind-blowing for people of Mendel's time. It was never accepted while he was alive. He died before all the renown that he now enjoys came about. Okay?
So he died people thought he was a loser, and he died?
Most of us are going to die that way, Miss Tom. He did. I wouldn't say he was a loser, but his idea was not well supported. His idea of particles being responsible for traits, nope. It wasn't until the early 1900s that people went, "Man, this guy knew what he's talking about."
So he didn't get famous until he died.
What's that?
He didn't get famous until he died.
Exactly.
Why are artists' paintings more famous after they die?
Go ask Ms. Bellman. Okay, quick review here. Please remember, pea plants are indeed angiosperms. So when their flowers are fertilized, they turn into fruits. In this case, it's a dried fruit known as a pod. Inside the pod, there's seeds, depending on how many ovules were fertilized. And then you plant the seeds and you get pea plants. Yes, flowers turn into pea pods. Pea pods are planted and the seeds develop pea plants. Okay, here's something else you need to know, Mr. Eindress. You need to know the 7 traits that Mendel studied in pea plants. 7 of them. So if you haven't got these in your notes yet, now would be the time to do it. The first trait that he studied, the shape of the seeds, the peas themselves. Most of the time around here, we see mostly spherical or round seeds, right? But every now and then, if you look, you'll see a few of them could be dented or wrinkled. All right, so the actual seed shape could be round or wrinkled. Round or wrinkled. Second trait, the color of the peas. Most of our peas are what color? Anybody ever see yellow ones? Okay. Anybody ever eat yellow ones? All right. They taste a little bit different, a bit more bitter. Yellow pea pods or yellow pea seeds, but they do exist. It's just that most of the plants that are mass produced around here, they produce green peas because they taste a little bit sweeter. Okay. The third trait is the color of pea flowers. A lot of them are purple, some of them are white. There's no green, there's no orange, it's either purple or white. Next trait, the actual fruits themselves can be inflated or blown up and puffy, or can be deflated or constricted. You've probably seen both of those types. The fifth pea plant trait, the actual fruit color. Most of the time you see green pods, don't you? But some plants produce yellow. Green or yellow pea pods. They're not pea. And then the last two, where the flowers are located. If the flowers are all along the main axis here, there's one down here, those are called axial type flowers, and most pea plants have those. But every now and then you see a pea plant that doesn't have flowers anywhere except for the very end, or the terminal part of the stem. And then finally, there's 2 types of pea plants when it comes to height. Either have tall ones or short ones. Right? And lastly, the one